How you doing?
Good.
It's good to see you. I think we should get started by, I want to make a personal announcement, and Bostin doesn't have to comment on this at all. But, in YouTube, it's interesting, like for the audience to know, I used to be a YouTube watcher. And so sometimes you don't know what's going on behind the scenes. You don't know how really YouTubers are behind the scenes, what their personalities are like, whether they really like the way they portray themselves on camera. And as the audience knows, I'm a big fan of Boston's, and I've been a fan of Boston's for I guess a decade, must be. And then I started chatting with Bostin a few years ago, and ever since I've known him, he's always been wonderful in private. And I always tell people that. But recently, something happened, which we don't need to get into detail about, but something happened in which Bostin basically chose, and I want the audience to know this because it's unbelievable what Bostin did, which is Bostin chose between views and helping his career or being loyal to his friend, which happened to be me. And just without a doubt chose me. And the other people that had this choice, obviously, were less close to me than Bostin, but obviously they chose the career part or whatever. I don't know but Bostin, without a doubt, I mean, I didn't expect it. I thought, I wouldn't even put pressure on Bostin. I would have told him, like, I totally understand because, this is you're shooting yourself in the foot for your friend. But he did it without me even being able to tell him not to. He already went ahead and said so. So I just wanted the audience to know, like, this is a rare human being that really is who he says he is. It's not just that he's honest with you guys about drugs or his private life or whatever. I mean, he seems to be really like that with his friends too. And I got to say to you, boss, I told you already, but I mean it, business, we look at each other. You have my loyalty for life, really. I never forget when a friend does something like that for me. And I know when it's genuine, and it means just so much to me. It's one of the most beautiful things anyone's ever done for me.
I appreciate it, man. But it's honestly just doing the right thing. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And yeah, I mean, like you said, that whole situation was so silly, man. But
it is silly, and you're right. It is silly, and it isn't deserving. And I'm glad, like, you try to talk some sense of it. But I what you did though, irrespective, that lives on forever in eternity. That is an action. That's what I say sometimes in life. Like people say, like life is so fleeting. We live and die, and nothing means anything. But sometimes people commit actions that are so beautiful that I believe they echo in the halls of eternity forever. And this is one of those. Anyway, I just don't want to get too philosophical, but it means a lot to me. Now, getting away from that mushy stuff, we have a few things to discuss. Oh, one housekeeping thing. So, I'm sure the audience knows it's annoying for the people who are true fans that there are clips being posted when you want to watch the full video. I understand that. And originally, honestly, I started posting the clips because we had new subscribers to the channel who weren't that invested in the podcast. So they made some comments saying, hey, would you post clips like Joe Rogan Show or these guys, they post little clips. I used to do that back in the day. So that they could get invested in the podcast. They could see if it's interesting or not. I also noticed that the average watch time on the podcast was really low. It was like 20 minutes on a 2-hour podcast or on an hour and a half podcast. So most people weren't watching the full thing. But then there were a lot of cool things we were talking about in the Q&A. So I thought, okay, so I should do these clips. So first I did the clips before the podcast. Then now I thought about putting the full podcast first. But then yesterday I was talking to Derek from More Plates, More Dates on the podcast, and I was telling him the conundrum, the situation, because I don't want to upset the true fans. If somebody really wants to watch the full podcast, like I'd watch the full thing. So I don't want to, those guys have to wait another week.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But at the same time, so I don't know. The thing is, so I talked to Derek. Derek said, if it's helping your channel, you should, if you put the full podcast first, they're not going to watch the clips. Now, this is the thing. I want you guys to understand, just for the viewers to know, because they're not into the YouTube thing. So it's not about money. I don't make much money from YouTube. It's not the money from the clips. It's the fact that every time you click a clip, it upregulates the YouTube channel and the algorithm. So if you click a clip or if you comment on a clip, which now, like, say you watch a 2-hour video with Bostin, we talked about 30 questions. How are you going to comment on, but if there's 4 clips, you could talk about them in the comment section. So the way I wanted to say it to the guys is just, I wanted to plead with them. Think of it this way. I know it's a little bit annoying to wait a week, but if you did click on the clips, you're helping not just my channel, but also our podcast grow. So you're doing your part to really help us. And I really appreciate it. Like really, genuinely.
Most people that I've talked to, Leo, enjoy the short clips because you do a clip of like 10, 12 minutes or whatever. And then underneath you say what we talked about.
Exactly.
It's like Generation Iron does. And that other guy, that big YouTuber who interviewed Chad Nichols, Dexter Jackson, Entertainment something. He has like millions of followers. He does clips and then he posts the whole interview. I think it's better to do it that way.
Okay, I'm glad you're on board. Okay, great. Because we didn't talk, Boston and I didn't talk much about it beforehand. Okay, so another thing I wanted to mention about the forum. So Boston, everyone knows Boston has a wonderful forum. It's actually extremely useful. I've grown to love it very much. Right now, I'm in the process. So we have on the forum an Indian. So this is basically how it goes. Like there are some pharmaceutical stuff from abroad. I'm not talking about steroids, but other pharmaceutical stuff. You can get them from like Indian pharmacies usually, but like All Day Chemist, Clear Sky Pharmacy, all that stuff is on the forum. But those guys are a little bit expensive because they get a lot of customers. So there's also another alternative. You go through Turkey, and Boston has a lot of Turkish stuff on the thing. But then there's another alternative, which we were going through India Mart. And then so I had one of my clients successfully get HCG kits for $7 a kit, and they worked. So we put that on the forum. But now I'm personally, because I have that seller, he's really cheap, that India guy. He's very reliable. But that guy doesn't have one of the drugs. For example, I like safinamide, which is a monoamine oxidase B inhibitor. It increases dopamine in the body. So that's a rare drug. It's new. So I found an Indian guy who has it. So now if I receive the product and it's good, I'll also add that there. This guy is selling 900 unit recombinant FSH, follitropin alfa, for $300. Cheapest I've ever heard in my life. Pregnyl HCG for $10.
And that's on India Mart?
No, it's not. He's on India Mart, but like you got to talk to the pharmacy. And like I talked to him and I was like, listen, I have a channel and we have a forum. I'll put you on the forum, but the deal is this. You give us as close to cost. We'll get you tons of volume. People will order. I told him I don't want anything for myself, but give us cost, like compete with them. So he's like, okay, this is the best price I can do. $10 for a pregnyl kit. I was like, okay, now we're talking. Yeah,
because I went on India Mart. It's just the payments are a little weird, right?
It's extremely confusing. Basically, you have to negotiate with them independently. So we had my client got that one guy, but he doesn't have everything. So now I'm working on this with this guy. His name is Aditya. And anyway, me and Aditya are chatting a lot. Him in India and me in California, and we've become friends. So I'm trying to make sure that he sends it to me. And if it is, I'll add it on there. And then you guys will have $10 pregnyl kits and $300 900 unit FSH kits, which would be insane, which means people can start using FSH on cycle regularly, economically. So this is a huge... So yeah, I'm really glad you have that form. Anyway, the final thing I want to mention, we didn't have a guest this week, but we should get Scott Mendelson on sometime.
Yeah, why not?
Wouldn't that be cool if we had Scott on and try to get him to talk about drugs on camera?
We have a lot of mutual friends. That would be funny.
Yeah. Do you want me to get him on? Because Scott, I talk to him like every 2 days. Okay, you'd love to come on, I'm sure.
Yeah, get him on.
Okay. Let's get him on next week. I'm going to chat with him. I'll get him on next week. So Scott's,
is he open about stuff or not really?
Nope, not on camera. No, it'll be so cool. Let's try to do it. Let's try. He'll be cool. He's all right. He'll be cool. Yeah, he just got 1,000 pounds slammed on his chest, by the way, at a competition, and then went and got the COVID vaccine, and then got sick from it. So like he's like sick, like ill, like
dude, yeah. I had a client that got the first COVID vaccine that came out, and he said he got sick.
By the way, that was one of the questions from the audience. I'll ask the questions later, but are you gonna get the vaccine?
Hell no, you know that.
All right. Anyway, so okay, moving on. By the way, I want to ask something. Do you use TikTok? What is TikTok?
I think it's so dumb. I don't even know what it is.
I don't even know. How can an adult male use this stuff? Like, it's really difficult. I see all the fitness channels because look, what I'm trying to research for our thing every week. I try to see what's the new stuff going on, and all the people are reacting to TikTok videos. I'm like, does Boston watch TikTok? I don't think my wife. I catch her watching that stuff.
It's a waste of time.
Yeah, but does your wife? Do you catch your wife watching it?
No, I mean, with people post it on Instagram, but we don't have a TikTok.
Yeah. No, my wife doesn't. I don't think she has one, but she watches like informative videos on TikTok. But I'm like, why would you want to watch this 1 minute dancing informative video?
Yeah, no. It might be a girl thing.
I think so. Anyway, so I sent you a video. Oh no, let's talk first about the important one. So Fuoad, you sent me this Fuoad Abiel podcast of Dennis Wolf, which was fascinating. So
I trolled one of Patrick's clients today on Instagram on a comment thread. You can tell he got upset. And I actually like the guy. You know who he is, Ben Chow.
Oh yeah.
he posted a thing saying he's doing a webinar with Patrick Tuor, and I commented. I said you should have Dennis Wolf on the podcast.
That's funny. That's harmless. That's funny.
He responded. You could tell he was pissed. I like Ben, but dude. Ben's been with him for at least a year, I think, and he hasn't changed. He looks the exact same. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, why are you they're so obsessed with him. They're so obsessed with him.
No, okay, so I have a lot of information on this. So let's start with Ben. First of all, I agree with you. I really admire Ben. Obviously, you know, he probably hates me because I've been attacking Fuoad for a year, but I actually like him. And I used to like the other British guy too, till he got angry at us. But I liked him a lot too. I loved him actually.
They both seem like good dudes, but
they
like
do.
I said, they're very sensitive. They're very sensitive.
They do seem like good dudes. But about in defense of Ben though, we have to say he did say that he had kidney issues in the year, and he really had to hold off. Like he was he was training to compete, but he had to stop. And then for a while, I think like at least 3 months, he had some downtime.
He told me he's been healthy for a while though. He did tell me about the kidney issues.
Because now you notice he's bigger. He's full. He's full. Let's say his face is full. His shoulders are.
Maybe his face is fuller.
but okay, let's talk before we get back to Patrick. Tell me, like, Bostin, what's your opinion on Ben? Like, not in terms of anything else. We love Ben, and obviously he seems like an awesome guy. But if you were Ben, would you push? Would you try to compete? Because it's different than you. It's like Ben.
I don't have great genetics, but his genetics have to be really bad because I mean, he was Luke Sandow's best friend. They obviously had top gear connects. He trained super heavy. He's super strong.
Very
super strong. And he just doesn't put on muscle. He doesn't. He gets like cankles, really watery legs. He just doesn't really change. Man, if I tried that hard and looked like that, I would probably hang it up. Yeah.
Because it's like, to be honest, like I never, and this is something I want to say, by the way, because I get so many, every time I go on Derek's channel, he posts a clip of me, people are like, oh, this guy wasn't so huge. I want to make something clear. I never trained for size. So I was strong. I bent over row 405 at 215. There aren't many people that do that.
It is strong, man.
Yeah, I used to, I was very, very strong. I was the strongest guy in every gym in pulling movements, in upper body pulling. Every gym I would go to. So I wasn't weak or anything. I just didn't train for the stuff. But what I want to say is this. If I did try to train for bodybuilding, honestly, I would have quit real quick. Because I have a bad tricep. It's just shaped. I mean, maybe Bostin could have helped me with that, to be honest with you. But my tricep is like, it's non-existent. It like hides. It hides behind the bone. It goes around here. I used to be really strong on my triceps, but I never had a proper horseshoe. It would just go around here, but it wouldn't go around fully. And that's mess. If you don't have a tricep, you're done.
That's pure genetics.
Yeah, you can't. So I would have been like, but in the case of Ben, this guy is superhuman strong. He squats like a powerlifter would be jealous of him. There aren't, I mean, for example,
and he does it for reps.
Think of Jason Blaha, for example. Jason Blaha is a full-time powerlifter, YouTuber. 10 years on gear, powerlifting on YouTube. His best squat is 550. This guy, Ben Chow, blows him out the water, squatting all day, and still his legs won't grow. So what could he possibly do is what I wonder.
Well,
it's not his choice. It's not his problem. It's genetics.
You're right. It is genetics. No matter who he hires, he'll probably not progress that well. But for him to be all about Patrick is just, it's just.
Yeah, back to Patrick. So I think, no. Now, Bostin, I don't know if we talked about this extensively privately, but my theory is really genuinely, I think the podcast is sponsored by Patrick. And it's interesting, talk about Dennis Wolf for a second, because I watched the whole, I watched what you sent me, then I was like, wait a minute, this is really interesting. So I watched the whole thing. I actually would really love to get Dennis on our podcast or
I can email him. I've talked to him before.
Oh, I'd love to have him on because he was so honest. Did you notice that?
Well, that's Germans for you.
Yeah, I love that. He was so German. Exactly. Have you been to Germany before, by the way? How do you know about that?
No, just I have a lot of German clients.
That's true. There are German followers of the channel now that we started doing the podcast. Yeah, they're really serious. I love German culture.
That guy that we were talking about that you mentioned the other day when I trained him for his show, when I think he won the juniors, Max Madsen. He's one of the biggest coaches and biggest YouTube guys right now. I coached him for his first junior win when I think he either got second or he won. I forgot, but he has a big channel on YouTube too.
Now, was Dennis known to be, because I was surprised when I was listening to the interview, because I thought Dennis was known to come in watery, but he wasn't. He was known to come in very.
He's came in all sorts. When he worked with Chad
Okay.
Nichols that one year, he was way spilled. He got like dead last. But he's usually pretty good. The thing that
Okay.
you're probably getting confused is he can never get his glutes to come in.
Oh, maybe I'm confusing him for someone else actually completely. So he was always in condition. Okay, interesting.
Always in condition, just had a hard time bringing the glutes in because he didn't really have a lot of glute muscle.
Yeah. Anyway, about Patrick though, I still really my theory is that it's sponsored, and because it's just ridiculous. It's like it's almost like a joke. They talk about him like he's Jesus. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like for
yeah.
Ben to praise him like that, and the thing is like Ben and James, they talk about him like, oh, he's always on my ass. He always texts me, make sure. And it's like, of course he does, because you guys have big followings. You guys do this podcast with Fuoad. Of course he is. But how about the average guys that hire him? He doesn't pay attention to them like he pays attention to you. Just go. I can tell people, go to his tagged photos. That's all of his normal clients that tag him in posts because they're happy. They're like, I'm working with Patrick. Go to his tag photos. You'll see how shitty his normal guys look because he's low protein, high carb. His drug cycles are ridiculous. They're not even high. They're just dumb. And I've seen his drug cycles. First of all, he has them take natural supplements like between every meal. Like I mean, you might like that shit. I don't know, but he has his guys literally take shit all day long. You couldn't have work a 9-to-5 job or anything. It had to be completely bodybuilding. It's so ridiculous how much shit you got to take. And then you don't even get results. And then on top of it, he doesn't even allow any cheat meals. There's no cheat meals. And then you guys got like Hani Rambod, who gives his guys a cheat meal or 2 cheat meals a week. And, you know, his guys are making progress and Patrick's not. So for him to be like, never have a cheat meal, it's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Bostin has, for the audience to know, the most stringent standards on coaching in existence. I've never seen anybody that has that level of rigor. He has like an ethical code for coaching. It's his own, like he has a separate code. Like Bostin was like, you know, there's some people, they don't respond to people for like a couple of days. I was like, you know what, this week, I don't know if you remember this, Bostin. I was like, I haven't responded to people for a couple of days. You're like, surprised. I was like, no, I talk to them every week for an hour on the phone. Like they have an hour. But you know what happens to me, Bostin? I get like introverted and I overwork sometimes. And then I only have 6 clients now. So, I mean, I have a 15-person wait list, but that's why I haven't increased them. Cause I'm like, I can't handle talking to too many people every day. So sometimes like 2 days will go by. Bostin doesn't do that. You know, not many coaches.
I do emails every day. But last week when my dad was in town, I did take days off and I got behind a few days. I got behind 3 days max. But if it's a vacation when my dad's in town, yes. But other than that, yes, I do emails every day. But the thing is my clients could always add the text add-on and I text them, you know, back right away. But
so yeah, basically that's what I do. I have that texting for all the 6 clients. And that's what burns me out is the texting sometimes because it could potentially, I'm just very introverted. But anyway, the point is Bostin. So Bostin, I mean, the reason why I say this to the audience is that Bostin is like so stringent. Like there's a guy who we won't mention, but there's a guy who takes people's money and he doesn't, basically he's sort of a Bostin believes he's a full out con man. I think he's a very evil guy, but I don't know if he's, I think he's like lazy and drugged up. Like I think he gets the consultation and then he just doesn't do it. But boss is he's like, what the hell? This person didn't do the thing for like 2 weeks. So, you know, I know how stringent. Now, Bostin, I've hired people. I've hired 2 bodybuilding coaches before in my years trying to learn. And both of them were unresponsive as hell. One of them I couldn't get an answer from 2 months. And then when I fired him, he called me and he was like, don't fire me. I was like, I haven't heard from you in 2 months, bro. Like, he's like, anyway,
that's a typical Instagram coach. A guy just hired me yesterday. He worked with a few guys that are big on Instagram that had millions of followers. And he said he was lucky to get a response every 2 to 3 weeks. It happens all the time. So yeah, I was shitting on that guy that does it because he completely ghosts on people. The guy that we're not going to mention.
No, he does. Yeah.
And that's just fucked up. And you might be right. It could be a drug issue. It could be a drug issue where when he's sober, he's fucking on point. And then when he's on drugs, I don't know, man. I've never been on drugs like that. So I can't tell you.
I have been on drugs. But the thing is, that's why I gave that person benefit of the doubt always. But the thing is, like I said, his close friend says that he can't say the guy's a good heart. And if you have a good friend that says that about you, like I can't really say.
Well, Leo, you got to think about it too. Like we said, we're not going to mention the name, but think about it. All of his business partners from when he started doing all this, they come and they go. They come and they go. I have been with the same manufacturer, my same partner since 2014, since I started. I've been loyal to him since day one. I've never switched per people. And it's always a red flag when people switch sponsorships, when they're doing that, when they're going, oh, I love this company. And then 2 weeks later, I'm with this company. That's something that Ben just did recently. He's had like 3 different sponsorships in the last like 6 months. He was with Redcon, then he was with AP, now he's with Hostile. And it's not a good look when people do that, when they just switch around like that. You know what I mean? And especially if they have their supplement company and then, you know, oh, I'm doing this, and then, oh, I'm doing this, or they launch a product and it only lasts for like a month, and then that's never a good sign.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, like, since coming on YouTube, the only 2 people that I've gotten to know that have been like really remarkable, good people is you and Derek. I mean, Steve is also a great guy, but I mean, you two really like both of you separately did things for me that I was like, wow, these are really good people. They didn't need to do this at all, and they're legit people. But most of the people are, you know, once you get to know them, like that character, I was like, holy shit, you know, obviously. Anyway, we'll get off this topic. So listen, what about Phil Viz? Let's talk about this briefly. So
hey, you gotta admit though, before we change subjects, everyone that I've warned you about since day one, I was right about.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Like, almost like I feel like an idiot. Like, I feel so stupid. You know, you warned me about the first guy also in the beginning, like the first one, who I also was like, no, I'm helping. Would you come on the show? And you're like, I will not partake in this. Remember, you were like, I will not be associated with this period. Yeah. And that's another thing about Bostin that many people don't know is like, and to be honest, Bostin, I started learning this from you last week, is I never realized, like, if you have an audience that trusts you, when they see you with somebody, they think that you're approving the person fully. They don't realize, like, maybe you're just talking to that person and you're not, you know, co-signing. But Bostin will not come on a show with somebody that he finds unethical. Like, he won't even associate with the thing, you know, if at least if they're scamming. You will associate if you think they're like slightly selfish, but not if they're scamming. Exactly. Okay, so what about Phil Viz? So did you see, you told me the video is not about Phil Viz. The whole video is about Phil Viz.
I didn't watch it. I just saw no comments about him.
Okay, no. So basically there's a lady called My Thoughts Will Probably Offend You. And she made a video about Phil. I'm actually subscribed to her channel, but I never watched the videos. I tried to watch this one briefly. Basically, apparently what happened was this. Your friend, Phil Viz, came, you know how he gets like his like Adderall excitement on Instagram and he starts like responding really aggressively to people and sometimes he'll be a little bit rude. And so he got apparently in some altercations with some of these pro-fat people, you know, the fat acceptance kind of people.
Yeah.
So she screenshots all this stuff. She didn't really bash him or anything. She was more like, she's annoyed, I think, a bit with the fat acceptance people. So in YouTube, there's like bodybuilding. Then there's a fitness group, which is separate. Then there's like a fat loss group. And this fat loss group, they have a lot of issues with the fat acceptance group.
Yeah.
So basically, she was happy this bodybuilder was just slamming the fat acceptance people. Phil is like, you liberal snowflake, you are fat, like shit like that.
You posting in the comments?
She posted all the comments. He didn't call her fat, but they told him, you know, he told them actually prove that I called someone fat, and you know, there's all these pictures of him calling clients fat, or not clients, but other bodybuilders. It was really funny, honestly, because they're not used to bodybuilders and they don't know Phil Viz, so they're like,
when he loses it, he gets out of control.
Oh, he lost it several times in there. It's really funny. All right,
it was on a Facebook group.
No, it's on Instagram. It's a bunch of Instagram arguments. Yeah.
Wow. I gotta watch that video now.
Oh yeah, you'll really like it. Yeah. So also, did you see Nick Strength and Power mention Dorian Yates? Did you see this Dorian Yates part on Nick Strength and Power? Okay, so to fill you in, Nick Strength and Power had a clip in which he showed Dorian Yates filming. So basically, there's this channel called London Real. Have you ever heard of it?
Never have, no.
London Real is it's sort of like a Joe Rogan of the UK, but it's an American guy who lives in London who interviews people, and it's very popular. Now,
that guy, the conspiracy guy.
Yeah, that guy, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting? He started running now for the mayorship of London. He wants to become the mayor of London. I don't know if his political views differ with Dorian Yates's potentially or something like that, but it's interesting because Dorian Yates' interview on London Real was his most famous interview ever. And it was a major interview. And this guy clearly has a lot of power and could help Dorian tremendously with his career, for sure.
Yeah.
So Dorian refused to go on his podcast because apparently some of Dorian's fans brought up some shady business dealings that the guy had. And so he asked the guy about it before agreeing to go on his podcast. Oh no, he told the guy, I want to ask you about it on the podcast when I come on. So Dorian may be a little bit like you. So he asked the guy, he's like, I want to bring it up. The guy didn't like it. So Dorian said, the guy said, I wouldn't want to discuss it on the thing. So Dorian said, I won't come on the interview. So he made a video about it. So, you know, it reminded me a bit of you. I wanted to say, do you think Dorian may be the most principled bodybuilder, one of the most principled?
It's possible. He even went on a podcast saying he doesn't believe in the Holocaust.
Yes, many times. I know. Shameless. Like he would get killed. I mean, whether you like what he's saying or not, you have to admit that's principled, because if he said that, he knows he's going to get slammed. He knows.
I always respect when people speak their mind, whether it's right or wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Same. Whether it's right or wrong, but they're telling the truth, and they think at least they're telling the truth. So they're doing what's good.
They think it's the right thing, and it's just bizarre because most people would have a filter. I don't like filter.
Yeah, you have no filter at all. I used to have no filter, but I tried to learn.
Believe it or not, dude, my mom's way worse than me. She's horrible.
No way.
My mom has no friends because of it. Yeah, she's terrible.
True. My mother too, but my mother's barely sane. But my mother's like that too. My mother will say anything. Like it can get bad. Like, no, it should cause arguments. Like, she come into a room with a family or like a group of people, and she'll say something that the other person doesn't know, or like, you know, blurt stuff out, doesn't care. Argument happens, leaves the room. They're in a fight. She causes chaos everywhere.
Is she Arabic, or is your dad the Arabic?
No, my mother's from Colorado. Yeah, or she's from New Mexico, but she lived in Colorado.
She's American.
Yeah, she's white American. No, she has no ancestors that immigrated after 1600 except one.
Or so like if I saw her, I would say she was white.
She's like nearly a redhead.
Oh wow.
Yeah, she's like brunette, but like a bit red. Very.
His dad is like completely Arabic.
My dad looks almost black. My dad is really dark. He's as dark as Samuel L. Jackson.
Wow.
But he has a sharp nose. He has Arabic features. He's from Dubai, but Arabs have different colors. Some are darker, some are lighter, but they all have like sharp features. You know what I mean?
And your parents were married?
Yeah, for 2 years.
Oh,
wow. My father was a PhD student in the US, and he met my mother when he was a PhD student.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, for 2 years. But anyway, moving on. So what about Andrew Jacked? So what's the deal with this? Why is everyone freaking out about Andrew Jacked winning his pro card in Siberia at this, I don't know what the kind of show is.
He's really heavily muscled, and he has really dense muscle, but he doesn't have the best shape. He has a little bit wide obliques. I don't think he would do well in the IFBB at all. But he's freaky. In the gym, he's freaky. But on stage, I see the flaws.
What are his flaws? I didn't see his pictures that well. I saw huge thighs.
Yeah, he has a wider midsection.
Oh, does he really?
Yeah, his obliques kind of pop out. Yeah.
But he has wide shoulders, huh?
Yeah, he's big. He's huge. Yeah, he's fucking big, dude.
Is he Arab or is he from Dubai?
I don't think so. I think him and Larry Wills both moved out there.
Same. That's what I thought. Okay. That makes sense. And what about Seth Feroce? Did you notice that he's done a transformation recently?
Yeah, something about he's down to like a TRT dose or something.
Yeah. No, he's back up on a TRT dose.
Yeah, he's doing TRT.
Yeah. No, but he was apparently off before. So now he went on. He basically is doing a transformation with with your friend over there that we were just talking about a little while ago. The person that we were... Anyway.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, with the person that doesn't call people back. That doesn't call people back. Yeah. He's the one who's been helping him. Yeah.
Me and people have been fucking trolling the shit out of those posts. You're talking about the crazy posts he's putting about like he's putting on 5 pounds of muscle in 5 days?
No, he's doing that too, but he is coaching Seth on his.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's been doing that for a few months. So that's the team between. So they're working together on it in some kind of way with SARMs or some kind of other stuff. Okay. So, by the way, Seth has incredible genetics, huh? His arms are
very good genetics. He could have been great, man.
His tricep is just unbelievable.
He could have been He could have been a 212 champion.
I wish I had a tricep like that, man. If I had my bicep was fine, but if I had a tricep,
I have a training video of him with Hani Rambod when he won nationals.
Really?
Like old school as fuck, dude. He had a sick physique back then. He was round as hell.
Round as hell, but he was he's too small, or his waist is too wide for him to be open.
He's a shorter guy. He just needed to, add some more thickness to his back and stuff. But I mean, he was legit.
By the way, is your bicep or tricep better naturally shaped originally? Well, I don't know if you can.
I would say bicep.
You too, huh? But now your triceps better, right?
No, I would say my biceps still probably.
You have huge triceps now.
You think so? I don't know. I mean,
yeah, because you made them. Yeah. Well, they are huge, especially from the side. All right. The final thing I want to mention is, did you know this channel called Juji Mufu?
I've heard of him. He does some crazy stuff, right?
Yeah. Okay, you don't know too much about it. Anyway, him and his partner split. It's quite interesting.
I saw that. There was drama on YouTube. I saw that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I don't know what's happening. It's sad. Yeah.
You know who also has drama?
Who?
Johnny Bravo and Eric Kanevsky dropped that Cassady Campbell guy.
Yeah, I know. I had Eric on the channel. I had Eric on the channel because Eric contacted me a couple of weeks ago to tell me that his channel got deleted. I had no idea.
I had no idea either. Holy shit.
Yeah, I felt very bad about it. Apparently, Cassady allegedly got people to mass report his channel to get it deleted because he was mad at him. There's a long story behind that. I knew about that for a while. That he was mad at him since I first had him on the show. But so I brought him on the show to help get him some exposure so that he can regain his channel or whatever. And then John, although John is benefiting tremendously from Cassady, like in terms of being a partner and everything, he chose the moral high ground. He knows that what Cassady did to Eric, and he chose Eric.
How did they find out that he was getting people to report it?
I mean, dude, he was threatening him nonstop. I mean, this is really? So clear. Yeah. This guy is a slimy. I mean, I've seen the text.
Yeah, Musclehead used to talk with him, and he said that Cassady was a nice guy in the beginning. Well, this is before when he had no following. Cassady hit me up. He hit Musclehead up. He wanted to come to Tampa, and he asked me one time if he could stay at my place and we could film or whatever. This was years ago, dude. This was like 2016, 2015 when he was trying to get his name out, when he had no followers. Musclehead helped him out tremendously. And then Musclehead said he got a little bit of fame and his channel started growing and he started ignoring him and everything else. Yeah,
he seems like every communication I saw with him is like crazy ego driven. Like
all of it got to his head. He wasn't like that, man.
That's what they say about Rich too. That's what they say about Rich in LA.
Oh, Rich 100% the fame got to him. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, they say that that friend that you know about, he says that Rich used to be a great guy until like 5 or 6 years before he died. When he started getting famous, he just started ignoring people.
That's 100% the people.
But who knows if it was the opiates also, right? Because we found out that was going on. But people don't know that. They think that he was like this awesome guy. But actually, the time he was on YouTube, all his real life friends started hating him. Like he apparently became a very nasty guy. And that's when he flipped on you also.
I told you that Aladdin guy contacted me, and he said he asked if I wanted to go to Canada and they would pay for all my travel. They wanted to do something with me and Lenny, and obviously, man, I said I appreciate that offer. That's really generous of you. But I told him I'm a family man and I'm a stay at home. I've heard good things about him, so I've nothing bad to say. But I would have done it if my situation was different. If I was single and didn't have kids, shit, I don't even have a passport. So I was like, I don't travel, man, but I really appreciate it.
He is a very good guy. Actually, Aladdin tried to harm my channel a lot really recently. Just before he contacted you by 2 days, he made a video and posted on Lenny's channel. And that's why I don't have Lenny on my channel anymore. I was very offended.
I saw that video, but didn't we have Lenny on after that video?
No, it was days before that. And so when I saw that, I texted Lenny. I said I was really disappointed to see that you let someone put it, because it's not true. Like this is what I'm trying to say. Aladdin is an awesome guy. I have zero bad. I've met Aladdin in person. Everything I know about him is awesome. Everything. But the thing is, Aladdin is naive and innocent. Like, dude, the guy doesn't know that people badmouth him all the time as friends. He has no idea. He will never know that Amin's a con man. Amin is actually a good con man.
I watched the video. This is what it is. Amin has him under his jacket.
Yeah. Totally. And listen, Amin is very capable. Trust me.
He is, dude.
I've seen him work on Roger. I've seen him how he works on Roger, bro. The guy, Amin, is like, you cannot. So Aladdin would never, there was no way that this guy would ever be able to overcome him. And Aladdin's a good guy at heart. He sees Amin as being, poor guy, he's being attacked by this other YouTuber and destroying him. And he wants to protect the weak. So I admire him. I have nothing bad to say about him. He's a good guy.
He just doesn't get the situation. I watched that video. I watched the video, and unfortunately, I know he's a good guy, and he met well with the video. He's just under Amin's jacket. He doesn't know what's going on.
That's 100% true, and I have nothing bad to say about him. In fact, to be honest with you, the video is made out of a good intention, and so I have nothing but
because he just doesn't know the backstory to anything.
Yeah, he doesn't know. He really doesn't understand. But Lenny, anyway, so moving on, let's do some questions from subscribers. So Andrew Seka said, "Are all the sources on Bostin's forum legit? Joined recently, but some seem sketchy." And then 4 people liked it, so I wanted to comment on that. So
that's a very good question, because I get emails all the time. No, there is people that can sign. First of all, I don't accept a fucking penny from legit sources. If they're legit, I get them on there. I will not accept a penny for legal reasons, and just because I don't care. I want the forum to have as many sources and as many opportunities for as many people as possible. And if I started charging, because most of these forums charge like $1,000 a month, so remember, anyone could sign up to my forum. So people could sign up to my forum, not even tell me, and start promoting garbage on there. But the thing is every source on there that I have vouched for and commented for is legit and verified by me. So that's the thing. When people email me, I have also made a sticky before saying, order at your own risk. Only go with sources that I have vouched for. So if there's sources on there that could sign up in one day and post all this shit and be a scammer, and it's happened very few times because I'm on top of it. When I hear about it and I ban them right away. But yes, there is people that can, but just make sure I vouch for them.
Well, exactly. It's really easy to get around this, because let's say, like, for example, if you need any kind of pharmaceuticals, the Indian sources I know work, because we've ordered, my client has used, they work. And then all the sources I posted for pharmaceuticals work because I've used them all. And then we know that I know that the UGL in Australia is very good because I've dealt with them. I know that the one in Brazil is legit and very well known, and everybody knows the pros all use that site that he has there also. It's very well known. In fact, your anyway, that con man we just mentioned uses them too, also the Brazilian one. So I've known about them for a while.
Were you talking about Portugal?
Yeah, whatever that is. The female name one. I don't want to get too much detail.
Portugal.
Yeah. Oh, is that? Yeah. Okay, but that one. And then there's and so that one's legit. And then there's another. Also, the Turkish guy that's just joining your forum.
I'm putting that guy on that I just gave you the information for. I'm putting him on. He's been supplying pros for years.
Oh, that guy is also well known. By the way, Dom told me about him before. Also, and it's fun. I'm
the one that gave Dom his information.
No way. Okay, yeah, because I asked Dom before. I was like, "Hey, what's that?" So, but yeah, anyway. So these things are legit, bro. Like, let me just tell the audience. So there's at least. You can get any pharmaceutical except freaking Bioroxandrolone. I don't know why you can't get that, but almost everything else you can get. Pharmaceutical tests, you can get pharmaceutical HCG at the craziest prices, FSH at the craziest prices. You can get any single pharmaceutical. The only things you really can't get are amphetamines. Which actually you can also on your phone.
There is, yeah. There is.
So yeah, but yeah, if you get guts, I've seen like Bostin post some threads like this guy's a scammer or whatever. I've looked through there, but that seems very rarely. I mean, you can go just look at the trusted ones.
Dude, I've had that forum since 2016. I've only had it happen like twice or 3 times, but I banned them right away. But like I said, it can happen. But if I vouch for them on there, which I make comments, I vouch for them, they're good to go.
All right, next one is I love Robzilla. By the way, Robzilla, that's Lenny's best friend. Yeah. So Rob says, Bostin, is real pharmaceutical GH worth paying 4 times the price of generic GH? And I know Boston is the perfect person to ask because he has the opposite of opinion of this on me.
I've tried everything. My fridge is full of pharmaceutical grade growth hormone and I don't touch it really. I've used it all. In my personal experience, I've had clients that could afford pharma and then I'm like, dude, please just save your money. I'm telling you. And I switch them over. There's no difference. Now, the people that say pharma is so much better, that's because with pharma, there's quality control. If you can get real pharma, you always know what you're getting. That's why it's very important that you test your generics. Most generics are junk. That's why everyone says pharma is better, is because most people are taking junk generics. That's the biggest issue. But if you're testing them, and you have to do multiple tests. You got to do an IGF test. You got to do a serum test. You got to do a bunch of different testing. But no, if you're spending 4 times the amount on pharma, don't do it. But you know what the most sad thing about pharma, Leo, is 99% of the pharma is faked.
Yeah, a lot of it is faked, but you can tell pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's my opinion. So He's right. Boston's right. I really didn't think about it, to be honest, Boston, because when I was in the US, all the generics really were shit. I had a lot of inflammation, or like you got really watery.
Yeah.
So there's one thing though. Pharma will always get you a little bit less watery, like norditropin or genotropin will get you less watery than anything else. Not Serostim, but those ones. There's that. So if you really want to look like, if you're going to the beach and you want to look very cut up, the best growth hormone for you is probably norditropin or genotropin, right? You want the least water, but that's one thing. But you're right, Boston, because when I never had generic GH that was good in the US, but you're right. In Dubai, when I used GH or I used hormones for like total 6 months or so, when I was in my 22 or so, which is when I was my biggest, by the way, because I was younger. But I used they had a generic GH there, but man, that thing was powerful. I took it and I grew. Like it was ridiculous. My hand, I mean, I had like my hands. The chick I was dating at the time was saying my hands looked like Shrek's hands because my hands were like, like had fluid in them and were growing physically. What?
Yeah, because your hands will get swollen.
Literally, like I would, and I couldn't feel my hands constantly. I was taking 15 units because of GH15, so I was taking 15 units, but it was of the generic. I thought, oh, okay, it must be half strength. No, it wasn't. It was very strong. So he's right.
One of the biggest guys I know does 5 units of generic, or 5 I use a generic 3 times a day. So 15 I use.
Wow. Yeah. That does work. It really works, but you become insulin resistant.
The reason why generics have a bad name is because a lot of them are junk. A lot of them are HCG or junk.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of good generics on my forum.
Oh, you do have good generics on your forum?
Oh, yeah. And I've commented on them. There's 3 of them that test amazing.
Oh, interesting. Okay, so IKC has 3 good questions. It says, for you, Bostin, he says, can you give an example of a typical off-season cycle for a heavyweight or super heavyweight who is competitive at nationals?
Off-season cycle. I'm gonna give just a basic cycle that's very effective. Obviously, you got to switch compounds every week, so you just can't keep running this. 350 makes a sustanon every other day. 200 makes a deca every other day. 300 makes an EQ every other day. And either 50 makes an anadrol every day or 50 makes a T-ball every other day.
He asks you, do you think a genetically average bodybuilder can succeed without the use of 19 NOR-based drugs in the off-season?
Somebody that would with bad genetics or good genetics?
Yeah, he's saying average genetics. Can I not use DECA and Tren in the off-season and succeed?
100%.
Or would I
test an EQ, test an DHB? Yeah, 100%.
So by this DHB thing, it's really like I'm almost upset that I never got to try it, because it seems like it's unless it's painful, it seems like a great drug.
It hurts, dude. It hurts, but it works.
It doesn't. Oh, tell me something, okay? Because the Australian guy that I just mentioned, the Australian UGL, he says his doesn't hurt. Does it not hurt? Because he likes it. But I was like,
he sent me some, but I haven't used it yet because of my kidneys.
Oh yeah. I'm not going to use it, but see, the thing is, I want to try. I would like to trial it so I would know what it was, because a lot of clients use it. But honestly, even if I did use it, I wouldn't be able to tell because my tolerance is so low now. Everything would be crazy for me.
If there's no PIP in the DHB, I would say 99.9% it's fake, man. There's no way, because I used fake GHB and I was like, what the fuck? And I tested it and it was EQ. So,
really?
Yeah, dude. The one time I did get DHB from like this really good lab, I tested it and it was fucking EQ, and I knew it because there's no PIP. Another thing that hurts like a motherfucker that should never be injected is Primo acetate.
Really? I've never injected Primo acetate.
Primo acetate is the worst. I can only tolerate like 25 mg per ml, but even 25 mg per ml, there's some PIP, but it works great.
Well, why would you want Primo acetate anyway? Well, I mean, Primo's fine. It's not, holding so much.
No, I agree with you, but for females, it actually is really good.
Do females use Primo, by the way? I hear that they do.
They do, and closer to a show, Primo acetate would be better because it's faster.
Interesting. All right, he has more questions though. He says, can you go into more detail about Periactin and similar appetite-increasing drugs and their role in bodybuilding? And how exactly does Chad Nichols use this compound?
Yeah, so Chad Nichols actually gave me some advice on this. I was trying to get Marinol because Marinol is his favorite. I couldn't get a hold of it. It's impossible to get. Nobody can get it. I've asked everyone. Megastrol works amazing at like 40 mgs 2 to 3 times a day, and you have to slowly bump the dose because your body will get used to it. Periactin is hit or miss, and Chad Nichols will say the same thing. Some people will take 2 mgs 3 times a day, because George Farah is big on Periactin. Some people will take 2 mgs 3 times a day and eat everything in sight, And some people like me, I tried the syrup, the farm grade syrup, and I didn't feel shit. And then I tried the Periactin farm grade tabs. I didn't feel much. But then I had clients that fucking ate like crazy on it. So it just depends on the person. But the Periactin makes you tired. And then you got Megastraw that if you take too much of it, it raises your prolactin levels. So there's definitely side effects. So you got to find a dose where you could use it. You're not going to get the side effects.
And it should inhibit you a bit. But I wanted to ask you, Bostin, why don't you use edibles? Like edible marijuana?
I do have a ton of edibles. They make me so dumb.
Yeah, but they kill my. I mean, I can't handle them. If I eat a tiny, like a 10 milligram one, I have to eat everything in the house. It becomes ridiculous.
So they do help with appetite, man. But like, I work at night, right? So the only time I would take that shit is at night, and I literally, I've taken them before, and I just was like, I can't work tonight.
No, they do make people die. That's the problem. Yeah, it's true. But if you were like just bodybuilding, I think that especially eating it instead of smoking it, because it affects the hunger more and it affects the brain a little bit less.
Yeah, I didn't even want to get off my couch. I have a ton of that shit though, yeah.
That's the problem.
There's a really good edible source and vape source on the forum too.
That's true. There's a very good recreational drug source on the forum. Yeah. Who I just spoke to today, actually. But anyway, so I'm really enjoying to be honest, I'm really active there also, but maybe I'm not posting enough. But anyway, so he said for both, this is a really good question. He said, why do orals cause appetite suppression? He said, I don't think the liver toxicity explanation works. Alcoholics and people on very high dose Accutane, very high dose, high duration Accutane don't seem to have appetite suppression, even with much worse blood work than somebody on 100 milligrams of Vanadrol for a few days. Do methylated orals interact with histamine receptors in the digestive system to cause this somehow? Or could it just be a different kind of liver toxicity than other hepatotoxic substances like alcohol or Accutane? So I think a lot of it's really scientific. So
I mean, question.
So yeah.
I'll let you go first.
Well, I was just going to say from the scientific side of it, obviously we don't know and there is no literature on the subject, but we can hypothesize. So first of all, I was an alcoholic. So I can tell you very clear as day that when you are an alcoholic, you get less hungry. And that's because of the liver toxicity. What happens when you drink is different than when you're an alcoholic with liver damage. When you drink, you are damaging your liver, but you're also taking a hunger stimulant, which is alcohol. Alcohol causes the release of hunger hormones. And that's why people with ghrelin receptor mutations are more likely to become alcoholics. And ghrelin is just a hunger hormone. So they are associated with each other. Alcohol and ghrelin are very much associated with each other. So in the short term, you go get drunk with your friends and you might go order some burgers and stuff like that. But if you drink every day, yeah, you stop eating. That does happen. You stop being hungry. You have difficulty eating. You get skinny. Real alcoholics are actually skinny. They're skinny and they have beer bellies or actually cirrhotic livers. So that's one thing. Accutane, I don't know as much about myself. I'll tell you one thing. I've damaged my liver with a variety of drugs in my life. Whenever the liver got damaged enough, my hunger went away. It happened every time. Now, I've also read every paper on the subject of liver cancer and steroids ever published. And I think I know everything about it that there is to know, that is known. Sorry. And basically, androgens it's not about methylated. It has nothing to do with being methylated. Androgenic signaling causes hepatocellular carcinoma. It causes liver cancers. And so the longer you have potent androgens in the liver, the more liver damage you get. And the liver damage is potent. Now, the question, you're right. You might be right. What's your name? IKC. Your question is awesome. You really might be right. There may be another genomic effect that we don't know about from the anadrol. Maybe anadrol, for example, because of its progestogenic effects, is inhibiting hunger somehow. Or maybe there's something else it's affecting gut hormones or gut motility or something else that we don't know about. Who knows? But I am telling you that the toxicity is enough to cause nausea.
That's a great question, and I actually have a lot of insight on this because I've experimented with it. So yeah, you're probably right. I think any stress to the organs, whether it's your kidneys, your liver, any stress to your organs, is gonna decrease your appetite. I have a client that has genetically high liver enzymes, whether he's on TRT, fucking little bit of gear, whether he's on a lot of gear, just he has really high elevated liver enzymes. he could eat like a fucking horse. This guy could eat 10,000 calories like it's nothing. So I think it's a lot of it is genetic too, like your appetite, right? But the thing is this. I've had clients who couldn't eat on anadrol, and I added in ox bile, and all of a sudden they could eat like crazy. So I think 100% has something to do with your stomach digestion and the bile in your stomach. I think it affects the digestion. I think it affects the acid in your stomach. And if you're not digesting your food, your body's response mechanism is going to say, I don't want more. So I think for sure, 100% liver toxicity, kidney toxicity, anything stress will lower your appetite. But there is people that are genetically, no matter what, they're going to eat like crazy. I know guys that could take so many orals and continue to eat. I swear this kid could eat so much on everything, but there's always a genetic,
there's difference between people, but within one person, as your liver gets more damaged, you get less hungry.
100%. Or any organs. Look at me, dude. I can only get like 4 meals a day.
Well, kidney is different. Kidney is because you're getting systemic toxicity. So, but like if your spleen was, well, maybe, but liver and kidney specifically, but liver really, like, yeah. So yeah, I totally agree with you. And also, I want the audience to know something about TUDCA. TUDCA isn't just a bile salt like the ox bile one, but TUDCA is a free radical scavenger, a very potent one. So I take a gram of TUDCA 3 times a day, always. And so if I was ever going to take another anadrol again in my lifetime, my anadrol would come with a gram of TUDCA, with a gram of NAC, with a gram of vitamin C, with 600 or a gram of alpha lipoic acid, and with my EPA, 3 grams of EPA, because that affects your systemic inflammation. I would take them all together. And it's not crazy to take them together. They are literally free radical scavengers. So this molecule goes into your liver. Your liver has a genomic reaction and a non-genomic reaction causing toxicity, literally free radicals to occur. And then your glutathione has to deal with it. You don't have enough glutathione. So that's where the damage occurs. But if you have these free radical scavengers, they replace the action of glutathione to some degree.
I've had a few people tell me that the way they eat on orals is taking TUDCA with NAC.
That's what I'm saying. So take TUDCA and NAC with your actual oral and with all these other things. I would do that for sure every time.
Funny because there's a lot of bro science. There's a lot of guys that are like scientific. They're like saying take TUDCA and NAC, but never take it at the same time as your orals because it'll block the oral.
No, that's insane. That doesn't make any sense.
I know. It's so.
I specifically take them every morning when I take my normal pills, like my metformin, my empagliflozin. I take all the free radical scavengers at the same time to lessen the impact on my liver.
Do you take sustained release metformin or regular?
Sustained. And by the way, you also, if you're taking pills during the day, you don't want to take them more than twice a day. It's I guess like a best practice in medicine that you try to divide them to 2 a day maximum. 3 a day, your liver isn't getting enough time to just have a break. And that's also why you don't want to eat all day, because your liver will be tired all day.
I have to take a pill every day with my phosphorus getting higher. They prescribe me Savelmar with every meal.
So you're still seeing the doctor?
Yeah, I like that guy now. No, I don't like him, but I'm starting to like him.
You like his personality,
I'm starting to respect him because when I went into the office, he goes, I know you don't listen to me. He's like dude, he was like this. He's like, I know you don't listen, so I'm just going to prescribe you the drugs. He's like, I'm just going to prescribe you. And I'm like, all right. And I was like, why do you have me taking them 6 times a day? I was like, I read online that you're only supposed to take them 3 times a day. He's like, you're different. You don't listen. You eat 6 times a day. He goes, you have to eat 6 times a day.
Oh, he's interesting. I like this guy, actually. Yeah. He's so funny. At least he puts you in a good mood when you leave him because he's so hilarious. Anyway, okay. So Big Swole Hibbs says, what's the most DNP you've used in a day and how many days did you use that many milligrams?
Oh, wait. I wanted to say one more thing about the orals. Yeah. I used to take my anadrol pre-workout.
Me too.
And the rest of the day, my fucking appetite was shit. And then I found out from Chad Nichols, he has all of his guys do it before bed. And I'm like, why before bed, right? So I looked at anadrol. It actually has a long half-life for an oral. So he has his guys taking with their last meal of the day with like a fatty meal with like a peanut butter and chicken or peanut butter and a shake. And dude, I started doing that and my appetite was fine. Like, and then obviously adding in ox bile. But if you're taking like 100 mgs, you probably want to split it up. But when I was just taking 50 mgs, I would do it before bed and I would never have issues eating. So I think that yes, liver toxicity 100%, but your liver's not going to get damaged in one dose, and it killed my appetite for the rest of the day. So I think a lot of it does have to do with your digestion of your stomach.
I think I would do that if I was a bodybuilder that was using Anadrol for competition to hold, you know, to for the fullness look, which I think probably every competitive bodybuilder should probably be using Anadrol on stage or a week before.
Whole fucking prep before bed.
Yeah, I would think so, and that's what I was gonna say. But then you would want it before bed because you're trying to actually keep the Anadrol in your system and hold that. But for me, as a strength lifter, whenever we try to use Anadrol daily, at least for me, now some people, other guys like our mutual friend, use it every day and there's no problem. But for me, if I use it every day, I would have to use higher doses over time. So
I went from 50 to 200, yeah, and then in a farm grade Anadrol, and I could eat because remember in prep I was on 0 calories. I would never be able to eat in off season on that. And then I tapered it down for my show because at 200 you hold some fluid.
Yeah, I assume so. But so I would use it like 2 or 3 times a week on my before the workout because it after you take it, even though it has a long half-life, the first 2 hours you're the strongest. It really affects you. So it's really useful for people that are trying to get stronger. Extremely. Like there's no drug that replaces it.
You don't think D-ball felt more? You don't feel you felt more D-ball pre-workout?
No, but I know some people that do feel like they like. Now I felt D-ball for me was an antidepressant. I feel great on D-ball. Like if I take a D-ball in the morning, it would make me work better. I get in a good mood. You know, it's like, but Anadrol makes me actually a little bit in a bad mood. Like a little bit, like something's not quite right. I think it's the level of.
Does Trend fuck with you?
Not, I mean, I never complained. I'm not one of those guys that complain. But now looking back, yeah, I was probably a very weird guy to date for women at the time because I was like nervous, like overly aggressive, but unconfident, insecure. But so it changed my personality a bit. Yeah, that's true. And it took me a while to recover from it, from the 6-month Trend one when I did 6 months in a row. That's when it was different. At the end, the first 2 months, it's not a big deal. It's just a bit anxious. But 6 months later, I was like, okay, my personality is a bit different. But I used to use GH50. I'd read GH15's posts, and he's like, I've been on Trend for 2 years, and you guys are just bitches for complaining about it. So I was like, oh, man, I'm not going to, you know.
Yeah, it's fucked up, dude. I only have my clients do like 6 to 8 weeks of Trend at a time, and I start them very low, and I raise them. Like I start them at like 50 mgs every other day or 50 mgs 3 times a week, and I slowly raise up every 2 weeks. So they keep responding. I think it's just best that way. And then my dumbass does that shit for a whole year. And I'm like, what the fuck, dude?
No, and the thing is, I'm talking about Trend being bad for the personality at like 200 milligrams a day, at like 300. That's when it gets like, you get nervous and weird and shit. Like, I don't know if it happened. It doesn't happen to you because you're invulnerable. But for me, it was not at 50 like, every other day. That's
like after a while, it made me feel like shit. That's when I knew my organs were fucked.
That I was feeling that stuff on the Trend. That's why I was always suspicious about my kidneys because I was feeling like sick, like something's wrong. But you know, something's
like
nausea all the time. Exactly. Yeah, and that's why I was like, my kid. That's when I called the doctor that time. Remember, I called the doctor. I'm in kidney failure. Check my blood. And then they called me back. They're like, you're not in kidney failure. I was like, yes, I am. Anyway.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people that get nauseous on Trend. I've been paranoid myself, so I'm like, get blood work. And they're like, my creatine's at 0.9. I'm like, you lucky motherfucker.
0.9, my God. If I was muscular and my creatinine was 0.9, I'd have a party. I would make a celebration. I was at 0.9 when I was my skinniest, and it went back down to 0.9, which is like a fake 0.9, because it's like, you're not muscular, you know what I mean? Yeah. So I was happy about that. You know, but if I had a point, like I see sometimes blood work of people that are muscular and they're on steroids and their creatinine is 0.9. I'm like, wow, you are one lucky, you know.
Yeah. I had a client just like 2 weeks ago. He messaged me. He's like, dude, I feel like shit. I think my organs are failing. I'm like, what? I'm like, go get blood work right now. I said, you're going on a cruise, get blood work. His name's Brett. I'll give him a shout out. He went to get blood work. His creatinine was 0.9. His fucking liver was perfect. Everything was fucking perfect. I'm like, what the fuck?
Thank God. Thank God. Listen, I just realized we spent over an hour and I wanted this to be short, but we have more questions. Listen, guys, for the audience to know, I guess they won't see this because it's clips until a while, but I'll ask the rest of the questions next time. We're not forgetting them. We'll ask. Why
don't you do the DNP one? Because you already said it.
Yeah, the DNP one. So Big Swole Hibbs asked, what's the most DNP you've used in a day and how many days did you use that? But there's another question also by Deltzilla, which I wanted to ask, the last one, which is because he asked last week too, and I forgot, not forgot, but we didn't get to it. He said thoughts on coaches like AJ Sims using extremely high amounts of multiple AIs going into a show. Seems like overkill.
It's overkill, 100%. His guys come in flat. AJ's guys come in flat. They're shredded but flat. There's a point of no return. So AJ, what he does is he even pulls testosterone on some guys. He'll lower testosterone, he'll pull testosterone, and then he adds Arimidex and Letrozole, and he'll do Arimidex and Aromacin. I think he learned that from Matt Porter, because Matt Porter used to do Arimidex and Aromacin. I know a few coaches that do that, and their guys come in flat. So if you have a black guy that doesn't really flatten out, it'll work amazing for them. But you got to watch out for certain individuals. When you crush their estrogen too much and you overkill it by pulling their test, yeah, that's a bad thing. But if you're on like a gamma test, which like Hani Brambod, Chad Nichols, they have their guys run a gram to a gram and a half a test into the show. Like, for instance, Chad Nichols has his guys do 400 mgs a test every other day, which what does that come out to? 1,000,
yeah,
about 1,500 mgs a week. Hani has his guys do like 1,000 mgs a test sip all the way into the show. And they'll crush the estrogen. But I never seen Hani and Chad mix anti-estrogens. What they do is they'll smash them with like a high Arimidex or Letrozole, and they'll use Novadex.
Okay? Yeah, there's no real scientific reason, unless basically just to be scientific about it. If you were to use letrozole is always in all studies, including studies for fertility for men, the most effective aromatase inhibitor. It's also for women for breast cancer. So if you really want to kill your estradiol, you just need to use that letrozole. You don't need multiple. Why would you use multiple, or you switch between them? Is if letrozole, just for the guys to learn about like medicine or drugs, it's if you had enzymes in your liver, they're called CYP enzymes. Each of these, usually CYP enzymes digest the different drugs, but different ones are used for different drugs. Each of us have different polymorphisms that are CYP enzymes. So some of us have a very fast one and another one that's very slow. If you take a drug that is dealing with your very fast enzyme, you'll need a higher dose of that drug. And so it'll damage your liver. I mean, it could potentially damage your liver more or less. It depends. Like, for example, I'm a fast metabolizer. So I've been very lucky in my lifetime. Like, I haven't damaged my liver so much from the alcohol and these kind of things that I did, because I'm a fast metabolizer and I have high glutathione amounts. But anyway, so if you're using one that you're a slow metabolizer with, you use a slower amount of the drug, but you also get more side effects. So that's why you would switch between drugs, or if you didn't know your polymorphisms, you might use more than one. But in that letrozole's case, it's always the most effective. Don't you agree, Bostin, in real life?
I do Arimidex or Aromacin the whole prep. Then the last 4 weeks, I remove the Arimidex or Aromacin, and I use letrozole. 6 weeks out, I add in Novadex at 20 mgs, and I slowly bring that up. That gets them dry as a bone.
Yeah, I agree. So about the DNP, what was the most you used?
Most DNP I've ever used. The most DNP I've ever used. I tried 600 mgs of Denitro. Denitro was the best DNP source ever. He ended up retiring. Everyone went to him. All the pros know. Everyone watches this show will know who that is. He actually used to live in the town I used to live in. He retired, and nobody's DNP can match this guy. I tolerated his DNP at 600 mgs for like 1 or 2 days. But when I ran it for my show, I did 200 mgs for the first week. Then I did 400 mgs for like 5 days, and I'm like, fuck, this is too much. And then I went back down to 200 mgs for a total duration of 21 days. For my clients that I recommend DNP in the beginning, only some of them, like for instance, I'm training a guy right now. He's like already ready. So there's no need for any T3. He is on no clen. He's on no cardio. Everyone's body is different. But for the majority of people in prep, they come to me a little chunky. Not chunky, but like, 12% body fat. And I use DNP optional. I don't fucking force that shit on anyone. I say it's optional. 200 mgs for the first 21 days.
Can I ask you, how does whatever the best source of DNP on the form right now compare to that one you were talking about, like in milligram per milligram?
Good, but it's not as good because the guy Denitro used to add antioxidants to his pills, so there was no side effects. Like there was no DNP nausea. You felt better on it. If you needed the antioxidants, what I would recommend is using the stack that I just recommended, which is what I use for my own pills. So take 1 gram of vitamin C, just for the audience to know. When you're taking a pill that you think is going to be oxidizing, I would take 1 gram of vitamin C, because you're taking things that are not digested they're not lipophilic. So these you can take without food. So you can take 1 gram of vitamin C, 3 grams of EPA,
a gram of NEC, a gram of TUDCA, a gram or 600 milligrams of alpha lipoic acid, and maybe a gram of glycine too for the synthesis of glutathione, and that's it. That's enough. That's a lot of free radical scavengers. I doubt he could do more.
Most people don't do that. So that guy adding that into the pill was great. You know what I mean? And he didn't add that much. It was only a few little.
Yeah, this would be way more. So this would protect you more.
Where some people cramp on DNP, they lose their electrolytes. These guys didn't get the effects, but everyone knows who Denitro is. But the best guy on my forum is I can say the name because nobody will look at him. Is Oxytech. His email starts with Magnum. Oxytech. He's the other best one. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like when you take 100 milligrams a day, do you get in a bad mood at all or no?
100 mgs of DNP?
Yeah. Is that enough to get you in a slight off mood, or can you work perfectly fine on 100?
No, 100 mgs, I wouldn't even feel it at this point. My first DNP run, I would, but 100 mgs, I wouldn't even probably feel much now. Because
I've used DNP before for about that amount of time, about 30 days or 25 days once. And I did use higher doses, like 3. It was Tony Huge's stuff. So it got, I don't know how real it was. So it got to 400 milligrams, which I guess
not the pellets. We're using the pellets?
Yeah.
Those were garbage, dude. Those were garbage.
Yeah, they were the pellets.
Garbage.
Well, they worked. I did get hot, but I don't know if they were.
How much were you taking?
A lot, like that's what I'm saying. So like 400 milligrams or something like that. So I now that you're telling me you could only take 600, I'm thinking no, wait a minute, that thing couldn't have been really dosed.
Those wouldn't even ignite, dude. Those wouldn't even ignite. That's the best way to test DNP. Light a cap on fire, it'll flame up.
That's so serious. Did you actually try it with the Tony Hughes one, or someone else did?
No, I tried every DNP I did light it on fire.
Because, yeah, I'd be curious to experiment with it again at an extremely low dose, because there are, and as people know now, there are some, it's an uncoupler. And like, what is an uncoupling protein, for example? You know how some people have white fat and some people have brown fat? Have you ever heard of this before?
Yes.
So when I had gyno surgery, they removed my gyno, and I was like, what the it showed me it after. I was like, what the fuck?
Crazy, huh?
Bro. No, I've never mentioned this on the show before, but I've mentioned before, like, I have a lot of brown fat, but I never mentioned to people why I know that. I know because they did the gyno surgery, and I look at it, I'm like, holy shit. First thought in my mind, like, look how pessimistic I am, bro. My first thought is like, cancer. It's because it's brown. I'm like, what is this fat that's brown, bro? So I go to the doctor. I'm like, what is this? Like, he's like, no, it's fine. This is a good thing. Now, my dumbass at the time, I didn't even know what the brown fat was. He said it's a good thing. I forgot about it.
I heard brown fat's better.
It is better, but I forgot about it. It could have been a bad thing. I didn't know. I just trusted him. Years later, now when I'm like getting into health and stuff, I found out that not many people have that much brown fat. I must have had a high brown fat because I had a lot of adrenaline for so many years. But all of the fat they removed was brown, bro. Everything was dark brown. And there are colors of brown. It goes from white to brown. And it's called the browning of fat. And it happens from a protein called UCP1. It's a gene. And so this gene is an uncoupling protein 1. Now, DNP is also an uncoupling protein. And the uncoupling protein, so there's an element, brown fat basically improves your metabolic function, diabetes, stuff like that. So DNP is looked at sort of analogs of DNP. There are other analogs that are looked at, uncoupling protein things for health reasons, for longevity, stuff like that. Anyway, I'll let you be, Bostin, but we have many more cool questions. Like, one of them is this: have you ever seen? Well, I'll talk about it next time. But GC1.
We can do one more.
We'll do one more. Johnson Lifts asks, have you ever used GC1, a new thyroid beta specific agonist? Have you heard of this?
Never heard of it.
GC1. So T3, I want to try it too. I don't know. Maybe Bostin can find a source for us so we can experiment. Maybe Bostin and I can both do an experiment and we do a video on it. But so T3 agonizes 2 receptors, which is TR, thyroid receptor alpha, and thyroid receptor beta. Thyroid receptor alpha seems to be more relevant to the heart rate increases when you take T3, whereas thyroid receptor beta seems to be more relevant to the fat loss, especially the fat loss at the liver. This thing, GC1, is they made it out of a T3 molecule, but they replaced parts of the, I believe it was they replaced parts of it with something else, and it ends up not agonizing the alpha part as much and mainly agonizes the beta. It does 10 times preference of beta over alpha. So basically, it's like taking T3, losing body fat, but less heart rate increases. So less heart damage.
That's my issue with T3, man.
Yes. So
my issue right now is it really annoys me, man. Getting up to pee having sex, I feel like I've ran a fucking marathon, dude.
So I would always take a beta blocker with T3, by the way.
How much though? How much beta blocker would you take?
40 milligrams with like 50 milligrams of T3. I would take 40 milligrams of propranolol upon rising, and then again 4 or 5 hours later, and you'll never get in this kind of high heart rate. You'll still burn more fat. You still will. You still will. You'll just block some of this effect.
40 mgs twice a day.
Yeah, I would. Yeah, really. But
it's funny you say that, because I'll tell you what. When I was on T3 and I was on Antinol, most people's like heart rate on Antinol gets down to like 50. Mine was still 65.
Exactly, because the T3 is through the alpha receptor is raising your heart rate. So this thing just potentially it could really be the better version of T3 for us. You would take a low amount of T3 just to stop your thyroid from acting, because you don't want your thyroid to grow. Like that's why I'm thinking now. I'm thinking of going on thyroid replacement, because I got so scared by what happened to Dave. And I, to be honest, I did a lot of research. 30% of Americans can actually, if they go to a doctor, 30% of Americans, adult Americans, a doctor can actually feel a thyroid nodule. A nodule is a tumor in your thyroid. A thyroid nodule, they can actually feel it. Now, I can feel some kind of weird stuff myself. I took growth hormone. I ate high protein for so many years. If once your thyroid grows enough, it's more likely to get mutations. If you take thyroid medication, you inhibit your thyroid from growing. So it could be useful, but of course you become dependent on it. So I'm thinking of doing it myself.
Have you ever heard of the beta blocker Cardivus?
Yeah.
Cardivatol?
Yeah.
That's another big one that a lot of people prescribe too.
It's not so unique.
The ones I have in my room are, I have propranolol, I have antenolol, and I have the Cardivus.
You should mix. You could mix atenolol with propranolol. Atenolol will have the least side effects. It'll go straight to the heart, not get in the brain.
I heard that propranolol is the best for not like affecting fat storage, because it's faster acting.
It is it's very fast acting. That's true. But it's not. The thyroid will still improve your metabolic function even with the beta blocker. I've tried it before with atenolol.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, because propranolol is faster, I was reading that it has less people gain weight on it.
I mean, I don't know if less people gain weight because it's also stronger, but it is faster. So at night, it won't be in your system when you're sleeping, when your heart won't be high anyway. You know what I mean? Or when you go work out, you don't need to take it. So you could take it right after your workout. Okay. You know what I mean? Anyway, we'll talk next time.
I was thinking of that. Maybe I'll do it in the morning and post-workout.
But we should find this GC1, because what I'd like to do is like take a little bit of T3 and then take GC1 or something.
Prescribing it?
No, it's not. It's not produced yet. I don't think. The research goes back to at least 15 years old, but I'm sure it's online. I'm sure it's somewhere. We should check it out. All right, brother. We'll talk.
One last question. You think T4 raises your heart rate too if you take enough?
If you take enough and you're hypothyroid, if you have hypothyroidism, it should raise your heart rate. Yeah,
but how about if I'm hypo, and I'm just taking enough thyroid to put me in range, but my heart rate is still high?
It will be high because your heart rate was low because you naturally had low thyroid. So now your heart rate is maybe what it should be. And it's high because of maybe various other reasons. For example, you could have low blood pressure, which you don't have. It could be because you have high adrenergic signaling, which you probably have. Stressed out, could be that. Could be that your heart is not very athletic, which means you don't exercise much. It could be that you have some blockages in your arteries. It could be a lot of things. So it's something worthwhile to diagnose, and it's easy to get the peace of mind about the heart. It's just one test.
What's a high resting heart rate for you?
For me, also let me tell you another thing. People's heart rates vary. So some people, their resting heart rate, if they exercise, will be 40. Some people, if they exercise a lot, their resting heart rate will be max. The best one they'll get is 64 or so whatever. Or 62, and during the day. I'm not talking about while asleep. Mine is like that. My resting heart rate is high naturally. My worst heart rate resting was 92, 91.
I'm at 70. Would that concern you?
Not at your size, to be honest with you, and with the fact that you take a little bit of androgens, it wouldn't concern me too much. It's not scary. When I was on androgens at my worst, it was 90 something. now my heart rate is like my resting heart rate is my nadir is below 50, like 55, but my resting that's at night while sleeping.
Is that because you're on a beta blocker?
In the day it's 65. No. I only take the beta blocker once a day in the morning, and it's propranolol, so it's short acting. So it's out of my system.
Why do you only take it in the morning? Is that when you get anxiety?
That's when I get the peak. Everybody gets their peak stress, cortisol, and adrenaline in the morning when they wake up 3 hours later. That's how it wakes you up from bed.
Are you doing it for blood pressure, or what exactly are you doing it for?
To protect my brain long term, to protect my heart in the long term from being a stressed out guy naturally.
And you just take 40 or 80?
40. Okay. 40 upon rising every day. And I also take it, especially if I ever take caffeine or my amphetamine, like Adderall or dextroamphetamine. I take it at the same time. So it inhibits the effect.
So you don't think it counteracts something like Adderall?
No, it doesn't, but it makes it way more powerful, actually.
How about caffeine?
Propranolol specifically?
No, listen. Beta blockers. No, beta blockers.
They affect the metabolism of caffeine. So some of them may affect the metabolism. It will inhibit some of the effects of caffeine, absolutely. But it's different when we talk about amphetamine. Amphetamine, propranolol actually affects the metabolism of amphetamine, making it longer acting and making one metabolite, the most potent one, stay longer in the brain. So it actually improves it, but it also, instead of making the amphetamine racy, it makes it euphoric, or as you say, europhic. It makes it europhic and not racy, not stressed out, and not like that kind of crap. So if you take caffeine and you take a beta blocker, it'll inhibit some of it, but it'll allow you to focus a bit more without that antsy kind of thing.
Okay, I got to try that. Another one that they prescribed my dad was metropolol. You've heard of that one?
Metropolol metropolol gets in the brain like propranolol, but it's more selective than propranolol. So it's more selective of the stuff of the receptors that affect the heart versus other receptors. Propranolol is not selective. Propranolol is it's not a beta blocker. It's an adrenaline blocker, adrenaline receptor blocker in general.
I will tell you, man, last thing I'll say is I did feel great on a beta blocker. It's one of my favorite medications that I've taken. I'm a guy. I think most people that take steroids long term, they become stressed out people, whether they like it or not, because you've just been vigilant. You've been hyped. You've been super masculine for years. Over the years, I've gotten worse for sure.
There's no way to avoid it. It's just that adrenergic signaling. Anyway, brother, I'll let you. I don't want to keep you all night, but I'll speak to you next week.
For sure.
All right.